Imagine standing on the edge of the deepest place on Earth. Not the highest mountain, not the largest desert, not even outer space. A place so deep, so dark, and so unexplored that we've actually mapped the surface of Mars more accurately than what's down there. Now imagine dropping Mount Everest into this abyss. The entire mountain would disappear beneath the water, and there would still be over a mile of ocean above its peak. This place exists. It's real. And it's hiding secrets that scientists are still trying to understand. Because at the very bottom of our planet lies a place known as the Mariana Trench. A world of crushing pressure, total darkness, strange life forms, and discoveries that challenge what we thought was possible. Some researchers believe it may hold clues about the origins of life itself. Others think it contains creatures unlike anything we've ever seen. And every expedition seems to uncover something even more mysterious than the last. So today, we're diving into the deepest place on Earth to explore what is really hidden inside the Mariana Trench. And trust me, the deeper we go, the stranger things become. Welcome back to Unknown Depths. If you're fascinated by the mysteries of our world, the unexplained corners of the ocean, and discoveries that sound like science fiction but are completely real, you're in the right place. Now, let's begin our descent. Because what lies beneath the Pacific Ocean is far more terrifying than most people realize.
The Mariana Trench is located in the western Pacific Ocean. It sits east of the Philippines and south of Japan, stretching for nearly 1,600 miles. That's roughly the distance from New York City to Dallas. But what makes this trench extraordinary isn't its length, it's its depth. At its deepest known point lies a location called Challenger Deep. Scientists estimate it reaches nearly 36,000 feet below sea level. To put that into perspective, commercial airplanes fly at around 35,000 feet, meaning if you placed an entire jetliner inside the trench, it would still be underwater. The Mariana Trench was formed millions of years ago through a process called subduction. One tectonic plate slowly slides beneath another, creating a massive scar in the Earth's crust. Over time, this geological collision carved out the deepest known location on our planet. But for centuries, humanity had no idea just how deep it really was. The ocean concealed its secrets well. And even today, we still know surprisingly little about what exists down there. Because reaching the bottom is one of the most difficult challenges in exploration. Not because of distance, but because of pressure. The deeper you descend into the ocean, the more water presses down from above. At the bottom of Challenger Deep, the pressure exceeds 16,000 pounds per square inch. That's over 1,000 times greater than the pressure we experience at sea level. Imagine having dozens of jumbo jets stacked on top of your body. That's the kind of force any vehicle must survive down there. One tiny structural failure, and everything would be crushed instantly. For decades, this extreme environment kept humans away. The Mariana Trench remained one of the last truly unexplored frontiers on Earth, a place filled with questions, but very few answers. And that mystery only grew stronger when scientists finally began sending missions into the abyss. Because what they found wasn't what anyone expected.
At first, researchers assumed the deepest part of the ocean would be completely lifeless, a barren wasteland of darkness and cold. After all, no sunlight reaches those depths. Temperatures hover just above freezing, and the pressure is almost unimaginable. Yet, when cameras finally reached the bottom, something moved. Something alive. And that discovery changed everything.
For centuries, The Mariana Trench remained hidden beneath miles of water. No one knew what existed at the bottom. No one knew if anything could survive there. And for a long time, humanity simply didn't have the technology to find out. But that changed in January of 1960. Two men were about to attempt something that had never been done before. A journey into the deepest known place on Earth. A place where a single mistake could mean instant death. The first mission to the bottom. The mission was carried out by Swiss engineer Jacques Piccard and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh. Their vehicle was called the Trieste. Unlike modern submarines, the Trieste looked strange. A small steel sphere was attached beneath a massive gasoline-filled float. The design was simple, but it had one purpose: survive the unimaginable pressure of the deep ocean. On the morning of January 23, 1960, the two men sealed themselves inside a tiny compartment. Then, the descent began. Slowly, the sunlight faded. The blue ocean turned dark, then black. Hour after hour, they continued falling deeper into the abyss. The pressure outside increased dramatically. Every minute took them farther away from the world above.
At one point, a loud cracking sound echoed through the vessel. One of the outer windows had partially fractured. For a moment, the mission seemed doomed. But the pressure sphere remained intact. So they continued downward. After nearly 5 hours, the Trieste finally reached the bottom. For the first time in human history, people had arrived at the deepest place on Earth. And what they saw surprised everyone. Because the ocean floor wasn't completely lifeless. There were signs of life. Small creatures moving through the sediment. Something was surviving in conditions that many scientists believed were impossible. The discovery challenged everything researchers thought they knew about life on Earth. But this was only the beginning. To understand how strange these discoveries were, we need to understand the environment. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, sunlight doesn't exist. Not a little sunlight. None. The darkness is absolute. A human standing there would see nothing. No horizon, no sky, no distant light. Only endless blackness. The temperature hovers just above freezing, and the pressure is so extreme that most surface creatures would be destroyed instantly. Yet somehow, life found a way. Over millions of years, organisms evolved unique adaptations that allowed them to survive where almost nothing else could. And some of these creatures look like they belong on another planet. As technology improved, scientists began sending advanced cameras and robotic explorers into the trench. What they captured was astonishing. Transparent creatures drifting through darkness, alien-like fish with oversized mouths, strange crustaceans crawling across the seafloor, and species that had never been seen before. One of the most famous discoveries was the Mariana snailfish. At first glance, it doesn't look particularly terrifying, but its existence is remarkable. This small fish lives at depths where the pressure should crush ordinary bones and tissues. Instead, its body evolved to remain flexible. Special molecules help stabilize its cells under crushing pressure. In other words, the Mariana snailfish is a biological miracle. Scientists once believed vertebrates couldn't survive at such depths. This fish proved them wrong. And it wasn't alone. Every expedition seemed to reveal something new, something unexpected, something that shouldn't have existed. The mystery of giant amphipods. Then, researchers discovered another surprise: giant
amphipods. These shrimp-like creatures were much larger than scientists expected. Some reached sizes several times bigger than their shallow water relatives. Why? No one knew for sure. One theory suggests that deep-sea gigantism allows certain species to store more energy in environments where food is scarce. Others believe extreme conditions may influence growth in ways we still don't fully understand. Whatever the reason, these oversized creatures became another reminder that the Mariana Trench follows its own rules. Rules unlike anywhere else on Earth. But perhaps the strangest thing about the trench is how life survives without sunlight. Most ecosystems on Earth depend on the sun. Plants capture solar energy. Animals eat the plants, and larger animals eat them in return. It's a cycle powered by sunlight. But in the Mariana Trench, that system doesn't exist. Instead, life survives on what scientists call marine snow. Tiny particles of organic material drift down from the surface. Dead plankton, waste, fragments of plants and animals, a constant shower of nutrients falling from the world above. When larger animals die, their bodies sink to the ocean floor. These massive carcasses become temporary feasts for deep-sea creatures. Entire communities gather around them, feeding for months, sometimes years. In the darkness below, nothing goes to waste. Every scrap of energy matters. Every meal is a rare opportunity, and survival is never guaranteed. Something even more shocking. As researchers continued exploring the trench, they expected to find mysteries. What they didn't expect to find was evidence of humanity. Because even in one of the most remote places on Earth, scientists began discovering plastic, tiny fragments of human pollution, even at depths greater than 35,000 feet. The deepest point on our planet wasn't untouched. Human activity had already reached it. And this discovery raised an uncomfortable question. If our pollution can reach the bottom of the Mariana Trench, what else might be hidden down there? Because the deeper scientists looked, the more mysteries they uncovered. And some of the strangest discoveries were still waiting, including unexplained sounds, mysterious geological formations, and creatures so unusual that researchers are still debating what they're actually seeing. The deeper scientists explored the Mariana Trench, the more they realized something unsettling. This wasn't just a deep hole in the ocean. It was an entirely different world. A world operating under rules that seemed almost impossible. And some of the discoveries made there continue to puzzle researchers even today. Because hidden beneath 7 miles of water, scientists found things they never expected to see. The mountains hidden below the ocean. When most people imagine the Mariana Trench, they picture a giant underwater canyon. But reality is far more complex. The trench contains massive cliffs, deep valleys, rock formations, and underwater mountains. Entire landscapes exist down there that few humans have ever seen. Imagine flying over a mountain range at night. No lights, no landmarks, just darkness. That's what exploring the trench is like. Every expedition reveals terrain that looks almost alien. Some underwater ridges rise thousands of feet from the seafloor. Others disappear into darkness beyond the reach of cameras. Even today, large portions remain poorly mapped, meaning there are still geological features waiting to be discovered. Right now, on our own planet. The underwater waterfalls. One of the strangest discoveries wasn't a creature at all. It was something that sounds impossible.
scientists found underwater waterfalls. How can water fall through water? The answer lies in density. Different temperatures and salt concentrations create layers within the ocean. When denser water moves downward through lighter water, it creates a phenomenon that behaves much like a waterfall. These underwater currents can be enormous, moving sediments across vast distances,
reshaping the seafloor over time. From the perspective of a deep-sea explorer, it would look like an invisible river flowing through darkness, a hidden force constantly altering the landscape below. The mystery of the Challenger Deep. At the very bottom of the trench lies Challenger Deep, the deepest known location on Earth. Yet, despite decades of research, scientists still don't fully understand everything happening there. One reason is simple. Almost no one has visited it. More people have walked on the moon than have reached Challenger Deep. Think about that. Humanity has traveled nearly 240,000 miles into space, but we've barely explored a location sitting right here on Earth. Every descent is expensive, dangerous, and technically challenging. As a result, much of Challenger Deep remains mysterious. Researchers are still studying its geology, its ecosystems, and the unusual processes occurring beneath the seafloor. Because some evidence suggests that water is actually being pulled deep into the Earth's crust, a process connected to the movement of tectonic plates. Meaning the trench isn't just a destination, it's part of a massive planetary system that helps shape the Earth itself. Then there are the sounds. The ocean is far from silent. Whales communicate across vast distances. Earthquakes create underwater vibrations. Volcanic activity generates powerful acoustic signals. But occasionally, researchers record sounds that are difficult to identify immediately. Some become famous, like the mysterious bloop sound detected in the Pacific Ocean. For years, people speculated about giant unknown creatures lurking in the depths. Theories spread rapidly. Could something enormous be hiding beneath the waves? Eventually, scientists concluded that the sound was most likely produced by ice-related activity. But the fascination remained, because the deep ocean constantly reminds us how little we actually know. Even today, researchers continue recording unusual acoustic events from remote parts of the ocean. Most eventually receive explanations. Some take years, and a few remain uncertain. Another surprising discovery involves underwater volcanoes. Far below the surface, volcanic activity continues in complete darkness. Some regions near deep ocean trenches contain hydrothermal systems where superheated water escapes from cracks in the seafloor. These vents create environments unlike anything else on Earth. Temperatures can exceed hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit. Minerals pour into the surrounding water. And around these vents, life flourishes. Scientists discovered entire ecosystems thriving without sunlight. Instead of relying on photosynthesis, certain organisms use chemical reactions for energy. This process is called chemosynthesis, and it changed our understanding of where life can exist. If life can survive in such extreme environments on Earth, could similar life exist elsewhere in the universe? Suddenly, the Mariana Trench wasn't just teaching us about oceans. It was helping answer questions about alien worlds. But not every discovery has been inspiring. Some have been deeply disturbing. When scientists examined organisms living in the trench, they found traces of microplastics, tiny fragments of human-made waste. In some cases, these particles had entered the food chain itself.
This meant pollution wasn't limited to beaches or coastal waters. It had reached one of the most isolated places on the planet. The realization was shocking. Even the deepest ocean wasn't beyond humanity's influence. No matter how remote a location appears, our actions can still reach it. And perhaps that's one of the most important lessons the Mariana Trench has taught us.
Despite decades of exploration, the Mariana Trench remains filled with mysteries. New species continue to be discovered. Unknown geological processes are still being studied. And researchers frequently encounter things they didn't expect to find. That's what makes the trench so fascinating. Every expedition answers one question and creates 10 more. It's a reminder that exploration isn't over. Not even close. Because while many people look toward the stars searching for the unknown, some of the greatest mysteries may still be waiting beneath the waves. And in the next part, we'll examine the terrifying challenges faced by the people brave enough to journey into the deepest place on Earth. Because reaching the bottom is one thing. Coming back alive is something entirely different. The people who dare to go there. For most of human history, the Mariana Trench was completely unreachable. Not because people didn't want to explore it, but because nature had built the ultimate barrier. Pressure. An invisible force so powerful that it can crush steel, destroy submarines, and turn a simple mistake into a fatal one. Yet, despite the danger, a handful of people decided to attempt the impossible, to descend into the deepest place on Earth and see what was waiting below. Imagine holding a single bowling ball in your hand. Heavy, but manageable. Now, imagine thousands of bowling balls pressing against every inch of your body at the same time. That's still nowhere near the pressure found at Challenger Deep. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, pressure exceeds 1,000 times what we experience at sea level. If an ordinary submarine were taken there, it would collapse long before reaching the bottom. The implosion would happen in milliseconds. There would be no warning, no time to react. Just instant destruction. This is why deep-sea exploration is considered one of the most dangerous forms of scientific research on Earth. The ocean doesn't forgive mistakes. The man who went alone. More than 50 years after the historic Trieste mission, another explorer decided to make the journey. But this time, he would go alone. In 2012, filmmaker and explorer James Cameron launched one of the most ambitious deep-sea missions ever attempted. Most people knew him as the director of Titanic and Avatar, but few realized he had spent years preparing for a descent into Challenger Deep. He wasn't going as a tourist. He was going as an explorer. Inside a specially designed submersible called Deep Sea Challenger, Cameron began his descent. Hour after hour, he dropped deeper into darkness, eventually reaching the bottom of the Mariana Trench. For several hours, he explored an environment almost no human had ever witnessed. The footage he captured revealed a landscape unlike anything seen before. Silent, desolate, and strangely beautiful. Later, Cameron described the experience as feeling like another planet, a place completely separated from the world above. And perhaps the most unsettling part, even after reaching the deepest point on Earth, there was still so much left unexplored. Every expedition into the trench faces countless dangers. Equipment can fail, communication systems can break, power can be lost, navigation can become difficult.
And rescue is nearly impossible. If something goes wrong several miles beneath the ocean surface, help cannot arrive quickly. In many cases, you're completely on your own.
That's why engineers spend years designing deep-sea vehicles. Every bolt, every seal, every piece of glass must survive conditions that few materials can endure. One tiny flaw could end an entire mission, or worse. Because sending humans is so difficult, scientists increasingly rely on robotic explorers. These remotely operated vehicles can travel where people cannot. They carry cameras, sensors, sampling equipment, and powerful lights capable of piercing the darkness. Some spend hours scanning the seafloor. Others collect biological samples. And every mission adds new pieces to the puzzle. The advantage is obvious. If a robot fails, human lives aren't at risk. As technology improves, these machines are becoming more capable than ever before, allowing researchers to study regions that were once completely inaccessible. Yet even the most advanced robots have limitations. The trench remains vast, and much of it is still unexplored. This may be the most surprising fact of all. Despite decades of research, scientists still know remarkably little about the Mariana Trench. New species are regularly discovered. Unknown microorganisms continue to be identified. Geological processes remain under investigation. And large areas have never been directly observed. Think about that. In an age of satellites, artificial intelligence, and space telescopes, there are still places on Earth that remain largely unexplored. The Mariana Trench is one of them. It's a reminder that discovery didn't end centuries ago. There are still frontiers, still mysteries, still places capable of surprising us. Whenever people discuss the deep ocean, one question always appears. Could there be giant unknown creatures living in the abyss? The honest answer is complicated. Scientists have discovered countless species that were previously unknown.
So, finding new life forms is absolutely possible. In fact, it's expected. However, evidence for enormous sea monsters remains extremely limited. Most mysterious sightings eventually receive scientific explanations, yet the possibility of undiscovered species remains very real, especially in remote deep-sea environments. After all, we continue discovering new animals every year, and many regions of the ocean remain poorly explored. The truth is fascinating enough. We don't need fictional monsters. Reality is already full of surprises.
When people hear the phrase "final frontier," they usually think about space, rocket launches, distant planets, and unexplored galaxies. But some scientists see things differently. They believe the real final frontier is beneath our oceans. Because while we've sent spacecraft across the solar system, we've barely explored the deepest parts of our own planet. The Mariana Trench represents one of the last truly unknown places on Earth. A location where every expedition has the potential to discover something entirely new. A place where mystery still exists. Not in legends, not in myths, but in reality. And perhaps that's what makes it so captivating. The greatest mysteries aren't always far away. Sometimes they're hidden beneath the waves. For thousands of years, humans looked toward the horizon and wondered what was beyond it. Then we crossed oceans, mapped continents, reached the poles, and eventually traveled into space. Yet somehow, one of the greatest mysteries remained right here on Earth, hidden beneath miles of water, waiting in darkness, waiting to be discovered. The Mariana Trench is more than just the deepest place on our planet. It's a reminder of how much we still don't know. Think about this for a moment. Scientists estimate that we've explored only a small percentage of the world's oceans in detail. That means vast regions of our planet remain largely unknown. Not in science fiction, not in fantasy. In reality, entire ecosystems may still be undiscovered. New species may be waiting to be found. Geological processes we don't yet understand may be taking place right now beneath the ocean floor. The Mariana Trench represents the extreme edge of that mystery. A place where every expedition reveals something unexpected, and where every answer leads to even more questions. What the trench teaches us about life. One of the most important lessons from the Mariana Trench is surprisingly simple. Life is far more resilient than we once believed. For decades, scientists assumed certain environments were simply too extreme to support life. Too dark, too cold, too hostile. The trench proved otherwise. Organisms evolved ways to survive unimaginable pressure. They adapted to complete darkness. They thrived in conditions that seemed impossible. And because of these discoveries, scientists began rethinking a much larger question. If life can survive here, could it survive elsewhere? Could similar organisms exist beneath the icy oceans of distant moons? Could alien life be hiding in environments we once considered uninhabitable? The Mariana Trench didn't just change marine biology, it changed astrobiology. It expanded our understanding of where life might exist in the universe. Right now, researchers are developing new technologies capable of exploring deeper and longer than ever before. Advanced robotic vehicles, artificial intelligence, autonomous underwater systems, high-resolution mapping tools. Each innovation brings us closer to understanding the unknown. Future expeditions may discover entirely new ecosystems, unknown species, or geological phenomena never before observed. And unlike many mysteries of the past, these are questions that science may actually answer. Not tomorrow. Maybe not even next year. But someday. Because exploration continues. And curiosity never stops. The strange thing about the Mariana Trench is that it feels both familiar and alien at the same time. It's part of Earth, the same planet we live on, the same world we think we understand. Yet when we look into the trench, we're staring into a place that feels completely foreign. A landscape without sunlight, without human civilization, without the comforts of the surface world. It's one of the few places left where nature remains largely in control, where mystery still exists, and where discovery is still possible. In an age when information is everywhere, that makes the trench incredibly special. So, what is hidden in the Mariana Trench? The answer depends on how you look at it. Hidden there are strange creatures that defy expectations. Ancient geological forces that continue shaping our planet. Ecosystems surviving in total darkness. Scientific discoveries that challenge what we thought we knew. And perhaps most importantly, hidden there is a reminder. A reminder that humanity has not discovered everything. A reminder that mystery still exists. Because despite all our technology, all our knowledge, and all our achievements, there are still places capable of surprising us. The Mariana Trench is one of those places. And maybe that's why it continues to fascinate scientists, explorers, and dreamers around the world. Not because of what we've already found, but because of what we haven't. Somewhere beneath 7 miles of water, in the deepest place on Earth, the darkness remains, the pressure remains, and countless secrets remain, waiting for the next expedition, for the next discovery, for the next person willing to descend into the unknown. And until that day,
the Mariana Trench will continue to hold its mysteries. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into one of the most fascinating places on Earth, make sure to subscribe to Unknown Depths and turn on notifications so you never miss our next exploration into the world's greatest mysteries. Because here at Unknown Depths, the deeper we go, the more incredible the truth becomes.